another video up on my channel which covers the multiplayer aspects to it. A couple of things will transfer over to this one, but in general,
Come on, Tab, lead us to Tyson.
it's going to be a completely different game, sort of expectations as well. So here I'm using a scanner, which is just nothing. It follows the trend really. It's nothing like anything that you would have normally done in Battlefield. You need to follow this dude going through. You're supposed to be a police officer, so naturally you've got some kind of futuristic mobile phone scanner that lets you see miles away, zoom in without losing any kind of resolution, and spot people through walls, because that's exactly what the police have. So it's trying to sell you this legitimate, realistic kind of story about like the war on some kind of drugs in some crappy estate or whatever. But realistically, it's just terrible. The writing's poor. The voiceovers and delivery is pretty decent for the characters, but it's such a dull story. And the way the game forces you to watch every cutscene, forces you to walk through the whole game. No matter how many times you've played it, you've got to go over and over and over again, watching the same cutscenes.
What are you doing here?
That's Tyson.
It's just dull. It's incredibly dull to play.
There's no line of sight to Tyson.
Up until this point, this level's probably been on for about 20-25 minutes now. This is the most exciting thing that you will do. I'll show you some of the takedown things with some of the characters. There are, to be fair to the game, there are some new ideas, like being able to, being able to take down people with your badge, so like holding them up so that you can arrest them, as well as being able to. Hang on, I just got this sound going through my ear. As well as being able to arrest people, but again, the execution is so poor that it just comes across as terrible as well. So you just tag people in the cars, you get XP for it. These help you to unlock guns, help you to unlock attachments and stuff in the campaign. Unfortunately, they also allow you to unlock stuff in multiplayer, so it does mean in multiplayer you are going to have to.
Oh shit.
Wow, just get an achievement for just looking at stuff. It's worse than Call of Duty. Yeah, you just go through and you just basically unlock things from multiplayer, so you do have to go through this pretty boring experience. One thing that is good is the character animation on their face. Looks pretty impressive. Some of the skin shaders, like the blood and the sweat, does look pretty decent. Here we're going to learn a new technique, which I'll show you, which is probably the only reason that you would think that this is adding anything new. Unfortunately, every single time that you try and do something in this game, it comes up with this separate screen which teaches you how to do it, and this is throughout the campaign every single time. It's really annoying. So you hold down left bumper and then they'll be frozen in place. Press the right trigger to take them down and arrest them, or just shoot them straight in the head. Obviously there's swearing because the game needs to be cooler than it was before, and there's flashes of blood, a suggestion of it, but the violence is really muted. Now, hilariously, when you've actually sedated anybody, of course he's got like a baton, when you've sedated anybody, sorry, you've knocked them out, or just arrested them, they become unconscious. Just putting handcuffs on this guy sedates him and knocks him out, which is brilliant. Again, you move through the game and you can just unlock weapons like this. The enemies don't care really that much if you run around shooting, unless they're supposed to be, you know, alerted by you. Again, another screen that's holding me up. Scanning people in and tag them, it's just kind of a really lazy way of making it seem a little bit more interesting. The best one's definitely this taser here, which you can take people down with. That's actually fun to do. And then creeping around, it's more of a stealth game than anything. Apparently there are lots of different ways to do it, like running straight in. If you're playing on veteran, you get killed immediately. If you're playing on a lower difficulty, I imagine it's easier, but you can just walk around electrocuting people, taking them down. And this is about as far as the gameplay goes. You get so many achievements as well, so even if you don't want to play this game, just go on EA Access if you've got an Xbox and just play it for the sake of the achievements if you really want to. See what you think about it. I genuinely think this is one of the worst games I've played this year. I've played Unity as well, which is far better than this. So you can freeze them, you can freeze up to 2 at a time, or it's just funnier if you just do this. And you just move through doing this. It depends what your tolerance for boredom is. If you want to be really bored, then, you know, I'd recommend picking this up. It's just... It's almost as if there's no care or attention has been put into this game. It's not worth your money. It's definitely not worth your time. Certainly the multiplayer I've covered, like I said, I've covered elsewhere. It's just not very good either. The graphics are appalling. The graphics are 720p on the Xbox One. They're 900p on the PlayStation 4, but I think the performance is apparently slightly worse, which swings and roundabouts basically.
Right here.
Okay.
13 here. Engaging
Flipped glass. Which brings me on to my next point, actually. The damage to environments is pretty much cosmetic now. There are a couple of bits where you can see through the walls, you can shoot a bit of a hole through, but there's certainly... It's embarrassing that Battlefield Bad Company still stands as one of the highlights of the single-player experience. Here we can see that you've got the exact same process of just unlocking stuff, so you can pick the same old crap that you could pick in every other game, unlock loads of weapons, which also kind of looks a little bit stupid after a while, because it means that you end up with like remote controlled, I don't know, remote mines and all this stuff that they're going for a gritty story and they just don't follow through thematically. Scanning and evidence as well, they couldn't be bothered to come up with a new idea, so they just ripped off Condemned, because every single police officer would have some high-tech nonsense that allows them to scan something in and do evidence on it. Yeah, that pretty much covers my opinion of this game. I wholeheartedly recommend you give this a complete miss. If you're desperate to play it, pick up the Access and the EA Access if you've got an Xbox One and see what you reckon. Have a go at the multiplayer by all means. It's barely playable in terms of graphics. Not from just my opinion, but you can't actually see very well in this game, so it makes it more difficult than it needs to be. It's basically, in a nutshell, it's a Battlefield game, just not as good as a Battlefield game. It's almost as if someone was trying to do a copy of Battlefield and had the exact same technology they used, but they just did a really, really bad job of it. One thing that is worth noticing is the level of detail that they've put into this beef burger here, which is absolutely fantastic. Other than that, I wouldn't bother picking this up. I'd give it a massive miss and cross your fingers that, at least for Battlefield 5, they might try if enough of us don't even bother picking this up. Alright, thanks a lot for watching.